Hello, everyone. According to CBS Sports, Michael Jordan made more in 2014 on shoe sales alone, $100 million, than he did in his entire 15-year career of $94 million. That's got to shed a little light into how rare and expensive and iconic these shoes have become. Today, I would like to share with you three of the very many different types of Jordan shoes that have helped create an empire of sneakers that sell. And for instance, the first Jordans that came out were in 1985 and were sold for $65. Today, those same shoes are well worth over $2,000 if you still have them intact. Some, even if they're beat up, are worth upwards of that amount of money. Every weekend, Jordan releases over the past few 4 or 5 years. Jordan's been releasing a new pair of retros every weekend, and they always fly off the shelves, or tend to fly off the shelves, I should say. And as of February, there are now 30 different types of retros. That's from 1985 to 2016. 30 different pairs. And over looking at eBay and different shoe venues, it's really easy for one to see how much these shoes can grow exponentially in comparison to how much they came out and costed for retail price. And now I'd like to share with you the very first pair that I have, and ironically, they're the retro ones, the very first Jordans to come out. These are the Air Jordan Retro 1 OG Chicago's. I got these last summer actually, and there were 12 total pairs in the entire state of South Dakota, released for $160, and you cannot get them for any cheaper than $400 plus. So, boom. The reason why these are so expensive is because these were the first color, make, and model that came out in 1985, which has got a lot of sneakerheads turning their heads. And what's interesting about these is when these first came out, it was at a time where Nike had begun to start making their shoes after athletes and creating sort of a caricature mentality when designing shoes. And that really brought a whole new level to the game of designing shoes. Bo Jackson, for instance, it goes on and on. And these were kind of the backbone and starters of what Jordans are now. And yeah, these began in 1985, and they're Retro 1 OG Chicago's. The next pair I have to show you are Jordan Retro 11s. These came out in 1995 originally, and according to an article that I read on Soul Collector, has been voted as the very best silhouette of any Jordan Retro to ever come out. And that's saying something that there's 30 of them. In fact, these shoes were in 2015, the hardest shoe to get out of any shoes of that year. And the designer of these shoes goes by the name of Tinker Hatfield. And he hasn't been the designer for every Jordan shoe, but mainly the most iconic ones, such as the 11s, the ones, and many others that I haven't mentioned. But the 11s are they've created a these shoes they're called the 7210s. That's another thing about retros is each one has their own name and it's interesting, their own background. What's crazy about these guys is, according to an article I found also on Soul Collector, in 2014, a 16-year-old kid was shot and murdered in line to get a pair of 11s. Not this exact same shoe, but just to get a pair of shoes, he was shot and murdered cold. That has to shed more light into how iconic and amazing these shoes can be to some people. And the last and final pair of shoe I have to show you are the Jordan Retro 30s. These were released in 2016, just in last February. I actually just got these not that long ago, and they have the most high technological advances in shoes compared to any other basketball shoe out there at the moment. Famous NBA players such as Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge are all seen wearing these shoes. In fact, Russell Westbrook claims that these are the only shoes that he'll ever play in and wear. College teams as well. Jordan-sponsored college teams such as the University of North Carolina, Marquette University, and the University of Cal all have their own entire basketball customized team-colored retro 30s. So, to wrap things up in conclusion, as you can see, Jordan sneakers have a very unique and interesting story behind them. There are countless varieties of them, and I hope that after listening, you've gained insight into the mentality of the shoe designer. When released in limited quantities, shoes can become extremely rare, and the inspiration behind each shoe has a little bit of unique meaning to it. So I currently own 40 different pairs of Jordan Retros, and that sounds dumb, but to me, it's a mental thing. When I wear Jordans, I just feel like a better person. Michael, in my opinion, was the greatest to play the game, and that mindset correlates over with whatever you're doing in life. And I'd like to thank you for your time and attention, and I hope that now when you see a pair of Jordans, you think twice. Thanks for being great listeners, and have a good rest of your day.